Hey, Ryan here from BD Diesel. Today we're talking about the 68 RFE and the overdrive drum. We're going to tell you a little bit what the common failures are and how we've solved those. The most common failure in the 68 RFE overdrive drum are burnt up overdrive clutches, and those are these guys. Main reasons they burn up is due to insufficient torque holding capacity, and I'll explain that in a little bit, deflection within the drum, or insufficient thermal mass on mostly due to shifts. I'm going to tell you what we've changed and how we solve that. First thing I'm going to talk about is deflection within the drum, and I'm going to use the term coning as well as deflection. So what happens, especially if you take the stock powdered metal overdrive selector plate, and if you machine off either the overdrives or the underdrives to try and fit in a few more clutches in there, is so if you imagine holding this on the edges and applying a force here, this plate will actually cone, and instead of being straight, it'll start bending in. That does two things. So what it can do is the overall deflection can eat up into the underdrives or the overdrives depending on what's being applied, and cause a drag on the clutches and cause your clutches to prematurely wear out. The other thing with coning is if that's sitting deflected, then the first couple clutches sit there and only half that clutch plaque is actually in contact, especially on that shift. So you start prematurely wearing the outer edge of your clutches. So what we've done is we have a QT100 plate, and it's machined thicker. We actually keep that extra space. We use that extra space in the underdrive pack so that we can have a firm, rigid plate, make sure all your clutches wear evenly. The next one I'm going to talk to you guys about is the torque holding capacity within the drum. Torque holding capacity is dictated by a couple things. It's dictated by the apply force on the clutch pack. So the apply force is the area within the drum as well as your line pressure. So we've got force, we've got diameter of the frictional surfaces, as well as the total number of surfaces. So in our BD Bigstack, what we offer is instead of 12 frictional surfaces, we offer 16. The only way we could do that is by providing our own QT plates, and big kicker here is making our own shaft. So this is the overdrive shaft, and what we've done is you can see the spline on this shaft is a little bit taller. The reason we do that is you can assemble the clutch in there on the stock shaft, but what happens is especially it starts sitting on the edge there on the lip. So if you start to wear through your 1/15 thou of clutch material on each one of the clutches, as they wear, the teeth can slip, and then you cause the overdrive to bind. The next one to talk to you about is the thermal mass within the clutch pack. So what do I mean by the thermal mass? So really, how much steel do you have in an individual clutch pack? And why does this matter? When you shift, there's a certain amount of energy because the 68 RFE is being electronically controlled, so it dictates how long that shift is happening. If the steel within the clutch pack exceeds, even locally, if you get a single hotspot or a couple hotspots, local temperature exceeds the threshold, then that steel starts to warp. And what happens when that steel warps? It starts to waffle. It then eats up the clutch pack clearances and will continuously drag in gears 1, 2, 3. What we've done is, because we now are able to fit 33% more frictional surfaces, we actually get 33% more steel mass. So how do you picture that one? Imagine you put your dinner in the microwave for a minute, right? It came out at a nice hot temperature. Now, if you put you and your partner's dinner in the microwave for a minute, it's going to come out, it's not really going to be as warm. And so that's the whole idea behind more steel. So how can you get this in your transmission? So every 68 RFE transmission BD builds includes the Bigstack with the 16 overdrive clutches. You can also, if you're a builder and you just want a set of our plates and our thicker shaft, then you can buy that. So we put 1800 wheel torques through one of these transmissions and we didn't slip the overdrive. But if you want a little bit more, we do offer by itself for you builders is you can buy the Bigstack with BD overdrive underdrive selector plate and the Sonax drum. We use their reverse plate. We use our, like I said, selector plate and 16 clutches in there. And what this offers is, because like I'm saying, torque holding capacity is dictated by the apply area times your line pressure, so the force on the clutch pack. They have 16% larger apply area on the overdrive portion of the drum. That gives you 16% more torque holding capacity. You pair that with our 16 frictional surfaces, you have one of the strongest overdrive clamping capacity available. The other question we get asked is the difference between the single-sided versus the double-sided. So you can see quickly there, clutch material on both sides versus steel on one side, clutch material on the other. The biggest reason, or the biggest difference between these two in the overdrive drum is that on the double-sided you can only fit 12 frictional surfaces, and that's with machining parts. Whereas the single-sided you can fit 16 frictional surfaces. So in terms of thermal mass, the double-sided actually is a couple percent less thermal mass than going with this 16 single-sided clutch pack. So on just about the same thermal mass, if we increase that torque holding capacity and get that shift to hold, let's say if your line pressure is a little bit too low, or if you're really trying to full load, wide open throttle shift 3/4, I want it to bite and I don't want that slow meander where it gets into gear. And you'll actually keep the temperature down with that increased torque holding capacity. I don't have anything against the double-sided. It actually is nice for wear on the steel, but with us being able to give you another 33% increase in torque holding capacity, that's why we went with it. So that's the overview of the 68 RPE overdrive drum and clutch pack. Check out more at our tech blog in the link below, or check us out online.